Welcome to Friday Takeaway. The Khazanah shakeup shakes up the market, and we will look at just two of the companies it affected. But before we get into that, so every time I think diplomacy is dead, something else comes along to shoot it in the head even more. So the US president took to Twitter in all caps to threaten Iran, which he thinks will make the country renegotiate after he torpedoed the Iran deal. I don't think so, Donald. But on a more positive note, the US has said that it will work with the EU on several areas that will include zero tariffs on industrial goods, which averted a potential trade war and perked the Dow up somewhat. Facebook saw 130 billion, mind you, US dollars wiped off its market cap after one phone call, its second quarter earnings call, where it reported a revenue miss and reports of lower daily active user counts in Europe. More worrying though is that it expects revenue growth to slow by high single-digit percentages, which could mean anything between 5 to 9% depending on what your definition of high single-digit is for quarter 3 and 4. Yesterday, Tenaga Nasional's entire board, including MD Tan Sri Azwan Mokhtar, have offered to resign. They say it's to facilitate a smooth and orderly transition under the new government. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said it's now up to the PM what direction he wants Khazanah to take, which means he could actually rehire the whole board, part of the board, or put in people who fit with the new government's agenda. As the market kind of holds its ground, we turn our attention to Khazanah-linked stocks, which saw a rather mixed performance among them after the news broke out about the board. Although it is still early and it is still developing, you had people like Rambau MP Kari Jamaluddin raising worries that GLCs would be broken up and flogged to the highest bidder or businessman. But while we wait for PM to make his move, it would be worth it to take a look at both Tenaga Nasional and Telekom Malaysia, whose share prices didn't only move in opposite directions, but they also called off a partnership this week. So let's do a deeper dive. Tenaga is the country's national power provider, and they basically generate, distribute and maintain the country's electricity grid. Although they are primarily Malaysian-based, makes sense, Tenaga also has always wanted to go overseas forever, which we will talk about in a bit. Khazanah owns 28.1% in Tenaga, so it's no surprise that its share price was affected by the news, but it actually went up. So after the news broke, the stock actually went up 1.1%. This morning it was flat at 15 ringgit 10, but higher than it was at the start of the week. But since January this year, overall the stock has dropped just over 3%. Also, I did mention going overseas has been one of Tenaga's main goals, but it has been very touch and go over the past few years. But earlier this year, it actually bought 80% of two UK renewable energy firms. And then a few months ago, there were reports that Tenaga was in talks with Turkish conglomerate Gamma Holding for a 50% stake in Gamma Energy Unit. Overseas diversification would help, of course, to balance out any snafus at home. Since we are living in New Malaysia now, there has been calls pleading for the government to absorb the recent tariff hike from both domestic and non-domestic users. Afin Huang Capital believes that any change to the incentive-based regulation framework and the imbalanced cost pass-through mechanism will not be good for Tenaga and reintroduce a lot of uncertainty back into the system. The good news is, well, more than half of the analysts on Bloomberg call a buy or outperform on Tenaga. Target prices range from about 18 ringgit 70 to 14 ringgit 40. Afin Huang certainly believes that the current government will keep the current system. Although it is kind of rather obvious, Telekom Malaysia provides telecommunications and related services. It provides broadband under the brand Unify and serves both the mass market and businesses as well. As opposed to Tenaga that went up on the Khazanah news, Telekom's share price actually dropped on the resignations. But actually that's not all. Tenaga and Telekom recently terminated their MOU to develop an implementation plan to deliver on the government's national fiberization plan. Not such good for the two of them, but good for us because Comms and Multimedia Minister Gobind Singh Hio said it was a good thing because it broke a monopoly. But Telekom stock did not react very well to the news and some other news like its CEO leaving, and has dropped 34% since the end of January this year. But this morning managed to see some pickup after yesterday's weakness, just over 0.5% to 3 ringgit 88. TM recently unveiled some new broadband plans that it said included something for everyone and had an entry-level plan that means it is easier for everyone to also upgrade. Analysts in general actually were really positive about the plans. UOB Kehan said that it was not only in line with what the government wants, but also lifted the policy overhang of the stock. Yes, the bulk of the calls on Telecom are still buy given the price weakness, but it's still under 50%. And a lot are also in the whole camp, as valuations are still really unattractive for some. But highest target price, 4 ringgit 40, lowest end is 3 ringgit even.